Good morning, my friends. Today in history, February 3rd, 1959, is the day the music died. Now, if you are familiar with that line from the Don McLean song, Bye Bye Miss American Pie, he wrote that song because on this day, the music died. Ritchie Valens, Buddy Holly, and J.P. Richardson, who was known as the Big Bopper, they died in a plane crash outside, I think on the outskirts of Clear Lake, Iowa. And their plane crashed within minutes of takeoff. Now, what led up to this, it had been cold. They had been touring through Wisconsin, Minnesota, and in Iowa, and it was cold. It's February, January. This is winter. They were touring in unheated buses. I believe one of the band, and Buddy Holly's band, one of the band players, he had frostbite, and he actually missed their last gig together because he had frostbite from being in the van or in unheated buses. They said that they burned paper in the aisle trying to get some kind of heat in this bus. And they would huddle together and try and keep warm. So it was a pretty miserable tour. And apparently they had no set dates. They zigzagged back and forth between all of those states, between Iowa and all over the place in Wisconsin in the winter in an unheated bus. So it's fairly safe to say it was a pretty miserable tour, with the exception of when they played. They enjoyed their music. Now, Buddy Holly booked a plane, okay, and he was tired. He was tired. He's like, I need rest, and he also figured we can do laundry if I get there ahead of the tour bus. I can do everyone's laundry, and he did. He was going to take everyone's laundry because you can imagine you're tired, you're cold, and your clothes stink and are dirty. So yeah, he was like, I'm going to get this plane. I'm going to go ahead. I will do everyone's laundry and I'll meet you there. It's a plan. Now, what they didn't realize was that they were heading into a blizzard. There was actually blizzard warnings. And apparently the pilot was never told about these blizzard warnings, Gus, whatever. So, Holly books the plane, and he originally asked Dion from Dion and the Belmonts to go, if he wants to fly with him. And, Dion didn't go because he told him, it would be $36. It was $108 to book the plane. And, when he told, Dion that his share would be $36, he couldn't. He said that was a magic number for me. He goes, because that's how much his parents' rent was. And he remembered how much they struggled and were, to pay their rent. And he was like, I can't spend that on a flight on an airplane when that's my parents' rent. So he didn't go. Now in Buddy Holly's band, he also asked Tommy Allsup, who was his guitarist. Now he declined and said he did not want to go, but it was a toss up between him and Ritchie Valens. And now all three of these singers were they were up and coming. So Ritchie Valens, if you haven't seen or heard of the movie La Bamba, Lou Diamond Phillips plays Ritchie Valens. It's a great story. And I remember I watched it when it came out in theaters. I don't know, maybe 7th, 8th grade. It was a good movie. Sad movie, but good. And Ritchie Valens, he was Hispanic. And so this was a big deal. You figure this is 1959, so this is kind of a big deal for someone Hispanic. And so him and Tommy Allsup, they flip a coin. They flip a 50-cent piece, Tommy said. And they flip the coin, and Ritchie yells out heads, and he wins. And so, Ritchie Valens gets on the flight. Now, Buddy Holly's bassist was Waylon Jennings. Yeah, that Waylon Jennings. Buddy Holly is from Texas. He is from Lubbock. In fact, in Lubbock, Texas, there is a Buddy Holly museum. It's got a giant sculpture of his glasses, his black rimmed, what we'd call nerd glasses now, but those were his glasses. And so his glasses are out front. But Waylon Jennings, who was the bassist, he told the Big Bopper, because the Big Bopper on this tour, he had been fighting the flu. And I can only imagine how miserable J.P. Richardson felt on this tour, fighting the flu, unheated bus, here, there, like, I can imagine he was pretty miserable. And Waylon Jennings told him, you go ahead, man, and take my spot. So the Big Bopper got on, and Waylon Jennings said years later he blamed himself for the plane crash because As Big Bopper, as JP is getting on the plane, he teases Waylon Jennings about, having to ride. He goes, you enjoy your bus ride. I hope your bus breaks down. And Waylon told him, I hope your plane crashes. So yeah. So for years after Waylon Jennings, he felt guilty. I mean, as anyone would. Now, so they get on the plane. The plane takes off. I mean, they said within minutes they saw the lights go up and then they went down, and but they didn't find them till the morning because it was a blizzard. And they found them in a snow-covered farm field in Iowa, and they had an aerial search. Now they said that there was a crash. I was gonna say crashage, not crashes, but all that stuff. Like feet, like 500 feet from the original crash site. So it looks like it tumbled, and they were thrown from the plane. And they ended up citing it to it was pilot error, because they said everything else on the plane was working fine, but what was different on there for the pilot was there was a gauge that was on a different side, and maybe he read it wrong, and he didn't have any experience flying in a blizzard. So yeah, this was so many people, we get in a rush to get where we're going. Kobe Bryant, we're in a rush. We got to get there fast. And sometimes, we need to, let's take a step back. But, this was the day, February 3rd, 1959 was the day the music died. And, so our cups up to Ritchie Valens, Buddy Holly, and the Big Bopper.